Now joined by John Kelly Jr. John, how are you doing today?
I'm very good, Sam. How are you? Ryan, good to speak with you.
Doing very well. Thank you so much for taking some time. I want to jump in, of course, to your days at Fordham, to your days at FUV. Flash back a little bit for me. Talk to me about some of the better memories you had at Fordham, and especially at FUV.
Well, it's interesting at FUV when I was there. Bob Aarons was there, Sam, and I came in as a junior, which it is really a very competitive network. I think Bobby Cifiardi, who runs your division now, allows upperclassmen to be more involved. So it was a lot of fun, but it was also really competitive, and I think that made me better. I mean, I entered as a junior. This one thing I love about FUV sports, you become a jack of all trades, and I've seen it with what you guys have built on since I've been there. I mean, engineering, that's where you start. You understand the board, how to upload and cut audio, which has helped me over my life, and video as well. So that's how I started out, and really kind of banging down doors. I think with Bob, I started with doing updates. I didn't really get a chance to do play-by-play. My time at FUV, I would consider to being in Paris in the 20s from an entertainment standpoint. Ryan Rucco was there when I was there. Justin Shackle, a guy that you had on who I really enjoyed, Dan Duva, New Jerseyite like me. And I got a lot of Devil's Beat reporting jobs from him because he was obviously going on to bigger and better. And we love Doc Emmerich. So, obviously a lot of talent. I could name them all day. A lot of them there that were very talented, but also that made me better. It's one of my favorite memories at FUV. Being around guys that are super talented, I like that environment. I like working in that environment. It makes you better. You listen to them. You feel at the end of the day, I'm competing. It's not really competition to me. It really is making me better. And I learned a lot from everybody during my time. And, talking about memories, we'll have a couple, if that's okay to share with you.
Of course.
One thing I really love about WFUV is, again, the sports is really not the big driver there. It's about music, and their music's phenomenal. And I really enjoyed working the membership drives. I'm not sure if that's a requirement of you guys, but the bbest part about it, in addition to the food that they serve you, it was really sitting and really kind of, listening to a lot of these music people, a lot of stories they have. One of them was telling me about Jimi Hendrix, a couple other artists. One day, they had an artist come in live into the studio, and we got to be the background noise, which was really cool. So that was, every time I thought about the membership drive, I always think of like things are music wise, and just the family oriented ability is one of my favorite memories about that place, from sports to the news. George is not there anymore, but he was phenomenal. We had a great relationship with the news department. My other favorite memory, I got to tell you, you're hosting one-on-one this week, Sam. It's another thing I enjoyed. I enjoyed one-on-ones, whether I was the B host or engineering. A lot of fun. A lot of fun to get big time names like a Kenny Albert, somebody on the phone. Oh, we got Kenny, as Bob would say, and patch him in. Being there and listening to all the stories that they'd have. I mean, I'm not sure if you do minor. I know you do. Do you still do Life in the Minors? That was always.
We just brought it back for the first time since COVID.
Oh man, great! It's a great segment, And I at the time really, from my memories, really appreciated moving up when I was a B host. The last year of my senior year, I did the draft show. We couldn't go to the draft, but I was there with Brian Clark, who's done a lot of work for the U.S. Open. It was fun to really kind of always hear those, and that was my kind of my break-in to the updates, the B host. In a short amount of time, I really thank FUV for giving me that opportunity. And beat reporting was another memory I really enjoyed. I mean, I got to cover a lot of interesting events. And I'll tell you both this, which is interesting about memory. I'm not sure how you do the beat reporting and then you set up or divvy it out, as I would say, but I had to cover the Islanders. Bad timing. I covered them the year that they got the first round pick and they got John Tavares. So that the year after, I was very disappointed. I rather would have watched them John Tavares than what they were going through. But
they probably weren't very good considering they had the number one overall pick.
No, it was tough. Stan Fischler was very nice to me back then. We would talk about this. He's like, do you think they should go? Do you think they should do this or that? But it was a lot of fun being out there. But that beat reporting opportunity was a lot of fun. I had to learn the whole Islanders organization, and it's a phenomenal organization. And I'm just saying that from a history standpoint, guys. I'm not talking about ownership. I don't really want to get into that. I mean, there's enough stories on that, but it really was fun to learn about all the 4 Stanley Cups they won, the names, and again. Just walking around the area. That's one of my favorite things about beat reporting, seeing all these people, Howie Rose. I'm a diehard Devil fan. And I give a shout out to your two Devils reporters who I love, listen to nonstop because they're so positive about our team. And I wish I could have had a little bit of that when I was there because it was hard with the Islanders. It was hard to do beat reports, but I got to see Doc Emmerich, met Sam Rosen, probably one of my favorite memories there in that very tough Islander-Ranger rivalry. As you know, it's very similar to the Devils and Ranger rivalry, but a little bit more history there and beating all those people and being around it. But it helped because it allowed me to beat report for the Devils, who I love, and just being, behind the scenes, getting that, the sound, sitting up there, talking stories, meeting the players, a lot of fun. But if I had my top memory at FUV, I'm a big hockey and football guy with spring training. And I'm not sure, do you guys get to do that?
We have not, no.
I'll tell you why it's my favorite memory. So, of course, me being kind of a dreamer, as always, I told Bob, I have a buddy who I just recently was married at my wedding, and he was in Maine, but now he lived in California. I'm like, I'm going to go cover the Oakland A's. And Bob's like, we don't have credentials to the Oakland Athletics. And we had already kind of stacked. Well, I thought because Brian Clark covered the Phillies, someone was already with Port St. Lucie with the Mets, and then obviously Legends Field with the Yankees. So he said, our owner, one of the big donors to the FUV is Stewart. I forgot his last name, but he's the owner of the Rays. So he said, would you want to cover the Tampa Bay Devil Rays? They're off a World Series. I said, sure. And really fun. Probably my best reporting experience ever was beat reporting for spring training. It's just so different than anything. It's really you're intimate really with the players, almost an intimate type of thing. I mean, really, you get to go in the clubhouse. I mean, yes, Mets and Yankees, but this is different to me. This is not a regular season. Everyone's trying to, divvy up, are they going to send a guy up, down, this or that? You get to really, the players bring their kids in. There was a guy closed for the Angels. Troy Percival was there at the time. They brought him in. He was there with his kids to see him and his kids kind of, play around. Pat Burrell played for the Phillies. They came in there and played a little bit. He had this dip bowl, chewing tobacco that someone had bought him. So I interviewed him about that. Kind of a risque magazine Carl Crawford had. I don't know why he was talking about that. It's just very interesting all around. I mean, Evan Longoria didn't really he was a great player, but didn't have as much. But you learn so much about these things that you really can't, obviously talk about on the air, but things that, more or less I really enjoyed about it. And really, really a great organization. Loved the media people. It was fun, and at that time, really, I was probably at that facility more than ever because staying in Port Charlotte, 30 miles down the road there in Florida, not much going on. So they almost had to kick me out of the facility. It was a lot of fun for me. It's something I'll always remember.
Right. And you mentioned something in there, jack of all trades that you get at WFUV. I was wondering, in your professional experience as an SID or whatever it may be, how kind of learning all those different skill sets, even if there wasn't, a particular thing in your job that you did learning the different things at FUV, how that kind of helps for every student that leaves FUV and maybe give a step up on other people trying to apply for the same jobs. How do you think learning all those different areas and aspects has helped you in your career for whatever you've done?
I think it's essential, Ryan. I really see it as a necessity. And I think that was the best thing about FUV I remembered. You're not going to be on the air the first time. Now, again, it depends on where you go. There are a lot of, I always tell people Fordham's best in the country. I don't want to hear it. It's just because I'm an alum. But also, I think having to learn that stuff and the competitive nature. Sam, you're very good at what you do. Ryan, very good at what you do. You have to learn everything. And I think that's really how you're going to survive in a media market today. And from learning how to cut audio, that was humongous for me. When I was starting out doing some small high school radio stuff, I did all the promotions at the Merchant Marine Academy. Knowing how to cut all that audio, how to put music, they had dead air. I put music in the background. You're now joining, Merchant Marine basketball or something like that. But learning how to cut audio, put that together, MP3 file, huge. It changed everything. They went from just a regular stream, as you see on these D3s, that they'll turn off the mic, to you made it a little bit better. I think that's really the jack of all trades thing. You could be just that bit better. Yes, it gives you the leg up professionally, maybe, but you could do just that much better. And I think that's something really that helps you. Listen, I wanted to be the next, Doc Emmerich. I love play-by-play. I still get paid to do it here and there, but, I enjoy the beginnings of FUV, that video cutting. I do a lot of video production now at Borough Manhattan Community College. While I was at, the Monroe Express, they had hype videos I would do. And you just end up learning so much more and it becomes more fun. I mean, not everyone gets a great Joe DeBari like you guys do as an SID. Giving him a shout. I love Joe.
Best.
And Ryan Ulick, who I had a nice trip with to Washington, D.C. Bring that subject up to him one day, and we had a good time. But both of them do great work, but not everywhere you're going to go. I'll tell you, if a jack of all trades, and especially from a preparation standpoint, are you going to get that type of SID work when you get those game notes? You're going to have to really work. You're going to really have to dig for a lot of things. I think a lot of the D3 conferences, I was in the Skyline, they do great work. And a lot of Centennial, the NJAC do great work. You're not going to have that ability, though, if you're to go to start out another place. So really shows the hard work, it builds into other things, but especially behind the scenes, knowing how to run a board, knowing how to set up all that engineering stuff. I mean, I knew how to do all that, and it helped me now in my job. And right now, which was different from when I graduated, guys, that's probably going to give you a monstrous leg up, knowing video streaming, capture card. I like Mac. I really don't want to have to get a Thunderbolt to do video streaming. But if you know how to do that, you understand the type of camera you need, Wi-Fi, if you can get enough money for a jetpack, it's a lot of money. But I'm already going over equipment. That was really how I started at FUV, being behind the scenes. And, that's where I tell people, that's why I loved it there, because I learned that stuff. And I wouldn't be talking to you guys today if I didn't, because yes, you could sit there and do critiques and play-by-play, but if you know a few other things, you're golden. I did all my own engineering when I was at the Merchant Marines. I did all of it myself, not a problem. And then Joe Guster, the SID, a little shout out to him, helped me out to kind of understand the whole video streaming, and it's helped. And this is an industry that I'll tell you both of you, the more you know, the better. And in the SID world, trust me, the better you know about this, the easier it is. And of course, I'll teach both of you guys something about athletics. Money is obviously, as we just off this interview talked about conference expansion. Knowing that and knowing equipment and pricing also helps you get a leg up. That, hey, I can get so-and-so a capture card, a camera. I could do this and that for under, $400, $300. They like that. So that's the other thing.
Yeah, John, to emphasize that before I, jump to my next question, I really do agree. I think, Ryan and I have both talked about this as well, about how important it is to, really work on the whole process in terms of, both Ryan and I are beat reporters, and how it's not just about, writing a story, or it's not just about editing it. It's about doing the whole thing. It's about really putting that whole package together. And I know you mentioned, your time reporting. I'm just curious, is there any particular sporting event? I know you mentioned spring training, but any particular event that you covered at FUV? It could be Fordham Sports. It could be, any sort of professionals in the area that you remember most, that you are either proud of covering or really just had a great time doing?
Okay, I'll give you guys this. The arena football time. That was my first ever beat. I'd have to say that. Listen, at the end of the day, covering the Devils, I got sound. I mean, and all the history, I think, was written by about 2009, guys. After 2003, 95, I wasn't going to do something on Marty's big win. I was actually working. Bob offered me to go work that game, but I was in Florida at the time. Beat reporting for the New York Dragons at going out to Nassau Coliseum. You know why I was very proud of it? Because, as Dr. Dre said in the Defiant, I wanted to put my body, my mind, everything into that. From the coaches' interviews to the player interviews, trying to break down things in the arena football. You'll get that in a sec, but everything, cutting, sound, all this, and then making sure the music matched up. They still have that booth. You guys go in, you record your.
Yeah, I was just in there the other day.
I would take that, Ryan, any day over you trying to knock out sound and these other things. That's always something I'm worried about. Always like, oh God, is there something in the background? I get on this. My wife is telling me I'm out of the room today. I don't want any background sound. You always tell me about that. But doing all of that, and really the time it took, I was not the best audio cutter. In fact, I actually had no idea to do it. It's helped me. It's even helped me from matching a video to audio, knowing the waves and things like that. So I put all my effort into it, and I was excited because I worked every week. I'm like, I want to be better. I want to be better. I want to be better. So, because, if Lou Baricelli works with MLB right now, was on the air, I wanted him to say, thank you, John. And eventually I got the shout outs. It was nice. But it was only honed down guys to, I think, about a minute or two. So a lot of work, but something I was always proud of. And to mention the AFL, so I ended up going and covering one of the playoff games. I don't know why this didn't come up in the last question, sorry, but got to cover them playing the Philadelphia Soul. Ron Jaworski was a part owner at the time. And I got to go down there. I went down to the whole Philly sports complex into the Wells Fargo Center. And folks, to everyone who's tuning in, if you've ever, and I'm a New York sports fan, but if you've ever been intimidated about an empty arena, just go to the Wells Fargo Center. Step up into that booth and really see empty. It's very different than it is on screen. It was maybe 9,000 people are there, and that my ears are ringing. That's how loud that building is. Just imagine when the Flyers have it full for a playoff game. But being there, there was a controversial ruling. Seoul won the game, about 2 seconds left, and just having to add that in my beat report, having to wait for the Arena Football League to come back with this ruling. Now I knew it wasn't going to go the New York Dragons' way, but another thing why I enjoyed that beat reporting, you're really getting out facts that people don't know. And, I took something out of that to my time announcing in D3. And my wife always gets upset with me. Why are you doing 8 hours of prep? Well, 3 hours of it is something people may not know. Okay. We're not talking here about, I guess a former player going to be all four of them guys. Okay. Like a guy like Chase Edmonds. Well, no one's going to really you guys are going to highlight a lot about Chase Edmonds. He's a heck of a player. And no one's going to know a kid, a D3 level lacrosse guy that may have been, the record setter in goals at Morristown High. That's what I learned from the beat reporting. All those little tidbits help. I think the guy who really probably put some sprinkles of the best was Doc Emmerich. He finds a way to do it. He says, obviously, prepare. Don't bring everything in your briefcase. I don't. But just that little bit of extra, information, guys, always kind of important to. And that beat reporting, I'm very proud of those New York Dragon beat reports. I still have them on CD too. So
maybe we'll have to listen to that sometime. You mentioned joining as a junior for FUV, and I was curious for someone out there who, let's say they're going into junior year, senior year, even sophomore, whatever it may be, they have interest in WFUV, they're on the fence. What would you kind of say to someone to push them to join, just based on your experience and how everything unraveled for you?
I think it's a great question, Ryan. And I would say join it now. If you're passionate, you will get a chance to succeed. I think, and I have to give a shout out. I know you have a new athletic director, but the previous one really has done a great thing for FUV sports. I think he's really allowed the operation to expand outside of football, basketball. Let's not forget, women's softball is very good at Fordham. Okay, let's not forget about that. I'm pumping my Rams in addition to FUV today, but softball, baseball, football, basketball, and of course soccer, which I was a color guy on soccer. But he's expanded other sports, and I think that really has helped FUV grow. That's why you really want to join. So you have a chance in volleyball too. I'm sure you put up there. So you're not going to sit there and say, I really tell the kid, listen, you want to learn some play-by-play? Try volleyball. The demo in volleyball. There's a good chance you may get a chance to call that. Guys, that's one of my favorite sports to announce, volleyball. I don't believe in the Olympic way of doing it. I believe in the Emmerich way of doing it. And there's a guy I know, Jason Garrett, who showed me how to do that. A chance to learn swimming. That's really what I tell them. You have more opportunities to learn other sports. And then that speed of that sport is going to help you with other sports from a standpoint of preparing. Volleyball, no different than basketball. You have 6 people on the court, a little bit more than basketball in a numbers standpoint, but how they're set up helps from a prep thing, how you set your charts. I think that's another reason they should be there. Plus, really, I got to say this, the biggest sell I have to say, once you get a chance to cover those professional sports, it's an experience you'll never forget. I got to tell you, when I graduated, it didn't feel the same. Working in the industry, until I really got the NCAAs, really didn't feel the same. Didn't feel the same grind, people in the business. It was a lot of fun. Think about it. You have a chance to really learn from some of the best, in the business. Mike Breen, who, when I was first starting out in basketball, critiqued one of my tapes, and I finally got the audio correct, guys, because it was blasting, so no one could ever hear it properly. From an engineering standpoint, said, great work. If you have that chance, and you really work hard, just to hear that one thing. I still have a relationship with Dave Sims, the Seattle broadcaster, and that's after FUV. He thought I was quite good. So it really is, if you work hard, it's fun. You guys are great. The environment's fun. I would say that you really don't understand. The more you put into it, if you really want to be there, you're going to get something out of it. And listen, are you going to be the next, broadcaster on ESPN radio? No. But what you get out of it and the contacts you get out of it, okay, are really something that really will help you down the road. And I've always got to tell you, I'm the first guy to call FUV if anyone needs an announcer. Because to be honest with you, you guys know what you're doing, okay, and it's a Fordham thing. And I gave Emmanuel Barbary an opportunity. He's too good. He's in Siena now. But you know what? My sister was getting married. I was the merchant marine guy. He did the soccer game, and I'd taken stuff from him. I'm like, wow, he mentioned the weather. God, you know what I mean? So it really was good. And then I have another person help me on the CUNY championships. And I did that, guys. Another reason to join, tell your students that on campus why they should join, because people help each other. I had a chance to intern at MLB because of another guy on the staff. And it was, you know, at that time, you look for money standpoint, $600 a month as a college kid, it was great. You know, okay, was I breaking down old tapes of frosted mini wheats with Ken Griffey Jr., which I found fun in some of these old commercials. Yeah, but a lot of fun. And I would not have had that opportunity if I wasn't at FUV. So that's why really they should join. Listen, I think as a sophomore or junior, I think you have a better chance to get on there or really get better experience. When I was there as a junior. And at the same point, there weren't as many sports. More sports equal more opportunities. And as an SID, guys, occasionally there can be an eye roll with me because that's a little extra time away, but it helps. It helps from enrollment. It helps the school's name, and it will help FEV sports. So that's why I think kids really should be there. There's more sports, more opportunities, and you know, but I'm really very impressed with everyone has put out.
This is the Off the Air podcast with John Kelly Jr. As much as the three of us could talk about FUV basically all day, I do want to get into some of the stuff in your career so far. You mentioned SID. Can you just, you know, take us through kind of the day-to-day of your role as an SID currently?
Yeah, sure. You know, it'd be interesting to see. I want you to share this with Joe DeBari, what I do. Most SIDs really ever since the pandemic have worked from home. And so, you know, to me, the first thing about SID, they're going to make you be in the office 3 or 4 days a week. Right now, I returned to Borough Manhattan Community College just based on the fact that from a commuting standpoint, I wanted to make sure I could get all my work done. Being an SID is all about time management. You know, I only have 6 sports. Okay. You know, I had 14 or 15 with JV teams, which is a waste of time. But still, when you have more sports, you need to really manage and have more time. My day to day, I'll get up at 6:37. I will, you know, look through emails every day, and you know, then again, get on social media, see what content needs to be done. I have a schedule that I've set up for how content is done from standpoint National Girls in Sports Day. We have a mascot. I don't know if the Rams participate in that, Manny, the Panther. So I did something graphic with him in the jungle and our background of our school and stuff. You know, again, trying to find time that if I'm really getting ahead of the next content, kind of like a broadcaster, play-by-play. Hey, okay, I have a week off. There's 2 games. Why don't I get to see who the key people are? A lot of it's about getting ahead of time. And more or less my midday, you know, that's when normally will be a meeting or something that's going on. But pretty much it's 24/7 job, guys. And with remote work, you can really almost do it anywhere. I got married 2 weeks ago, so I had everything done in advance. But my day really starts at 7 o'clock and sometimes doesn't end until 10, 11 o'clock. And if you have a commute in between, sometimes 2 in the morning. I mean, because you're really going into it, you know, really, guys, on a site, as an announcer, they always say talent should arrive, 2 hours before? Is that what you guys do, Ryan?
That's what we do, yeah.
Okay. SID, I'm there way before because, you know, if you're doing the video stream, you want to make sure that's working so that doesn't go down. You want to make sure your stat programs are working, especially if 2 young, talented men like you are there. You want to make sure that you're able to pull up the sidearm live stats. Okay, so a lot of SID time, you're there really early. It's a full day. And you really have to love sports. And the fact is, I really do. That's the thing. I mean, announcing, I think the biggest thing that killed the enjoyment, I love announcing games, guys, was just that I wanted to be so good every time. I think a lot of that was my FUV of always having really working hard and trying to top the next thing. As an SID, you really want to make sure that it's really about the organization. So I dealt with, I'll give you an example. We were hosting a regional championship at the previous schools at Monroe. Guys, I mean, the whole week I'm preparing everything. I'm doing media guides. I'm driving back and forth to Staples, making sure, getting credentials for that, making sure all the live stats. There's a thing where there's something in the statting systems, a target. You got to make sure each school's login stuff's in there. This way people could follow it the whole game, making sure the stream's working. We had a problem with that in the middle of our championship game. So really, you're looking, close to almost 16-hour days, guys. Sometimes, if during a championship, you don't sleep very much, and it always helps to have a great wife that I have who really can support and understand that. And I think that's just not SID. I think it's anything in the athletics field because your schedule doesn't matter to these people. And I think ADs are getting better at it. I think they're understanding that, scheduling, trying to help SIDs, because a lot of people have left the business. The pay is actually getting better because, to be honest, the amount of time, but guys, it's a real serious, just think about it, 15 to 16 hour days, a grind. And, I love it, but you always say I get up early because you have to be on top of it. And it makes the sacrifices you have to make for it. This year we had a scheduling conflict. So I had to move my wedding tasting because of it. You have to, I'm just letting people know, I'm not discouraging anybody from doing it, as well as play-by-play, but this business is fun. But, I have a great partner. She supports me. She loves me. And, that's the thing. 16-hour days sometimes, guys. It's fun, though. I love it. I can't wait to get back to work, getting all my sleep now.
You mentioned being at Borough of Manhattan Community College as the SID. You stopped at Monroe in between. I'm curious what you learned at your time as the SID at Monroe Community College for the second go around with Manhattan Community College. Great
question, Ryan. What did I learn? I really learned a lot more about really the idea of the staff. I think it's, I'm not Bill Belichick, but he had problems in Cleveland because I think he tried to take on a little too much or feel like you have to understand as an SID, I think understanding my budget, I never really had a budget at Monroe. Understanding what needs to be spent, what staff, the number of people at games. I think I learned that at Monroe because it was hard. They're coming out of the pandemic. They don't have the access to facilities, so they have to use the Division I school. I was at the D3 school, so that was tough. It's tough to get kids to commute there. Much easier at BMCC to kind of say, okay, we had a policy where my students couldn't travel on a bus. So we're paying out-of-pocket costs for them. At BMCC, I can sell that as student help to help stock things because I can travel with the team now because of COVID restrictions. So those little things and having people that help and help with your back really helped me enormously. That in Monroe really showed me about YouTube and broadcasting, guys, about streaming, how to take care of that. So I learned a heck of a lot there at that place, and it's going to help me at the new place a lot, especially from a time management standpoint. Yeah, I don't have as many sports, but understand that this is kind of important. Get that done so you can move to the next task, because I think that last job, I'm good with tasks, but sometimes when 1,000 people are asking you things, you got to just stick to bazooka. And this so far, it's really helped me enormously.
So John, with BMCC, I read that, you did a lot of work with their social media, you raised their social media following quite a lot during your time there and still are. So I'm curious, what kind of tactics do you use? What strategies do you kind of use to strengthen your social media presence? Because I know we at FUV, we want to take notes on this because we're trying to do the same thing right now. So I'm very curious.
Well, I'll tell you something. One thing I'll let you know about followers, I know yours are actual. Because sometimes BMCC will get the number doesn't always reflect it, but it will reflect in what we're doing. When I was there before I went to Monroe, we had a pandemic, and it was real. Again, no sports. And the other thing I did to really kind of drive engagement, well, I'll tell you, I started there, and I looked at the social media, and I said to myself, well, I looked at, first of all, starting saying, how am I going to model off other athletic programs? So as an SID, I've done play-by-play for. Hopefully he brings me back this year because I'd like to do some work there. I'm more free. Alex Falk saw what he did when I took the job in July at Manhattanville. So I would do top 10 sports moments of the year. I started something along those lines. If I had some video, I'd put it into Adobe Premiere. That helped get a lot of viewership, especially the team was coming off another conference championship back-to-back men's basketball. That was huge. Got about 800 views on the video. And I more or less during the season really tried to have a lot of, pre-game behind the scenes stuff. Now, more or less that I've learned to put that in a story, and I learned how to do reels while I was at Monroe, but that really drives engagement. I'm excited for this season. To really go on that level, but we tried to really bring everything to a different level. So instead of a score graphic that has a kid knocking down a shot with the team winning, if I could get a really great shot, someone dunking or a three or walking off the court, that would go in. I'd just make a PNG file of the score tab, make sure the JPEG photo is out of it, and actually did that with a video in Premiere, cleaned it up, 1080p, cleanest, highest way of doing it, and I'd post it. It would go crazy. People actually enjoy that. Again, if you're working at multiple sites, just make sure you have a good photo. But if I was there, that was what I was going for, and it really helped drive the engagement. And what you guys are doing, I'd say keep doing these alumni things. If I were you, one thing I did when I did the Inside the Layer podcasts or just the video is that I made sure to cut but you don't have time for this, you guys, but this is just what I do. 40 seconds, at least something good out of it. Because people's attention spans, when you think about social media, guys, Instagram and Twitter. I mean, Facebook's really for the parents. Instagram's for guys like you. And then Twitter really is for everybody else. You want to get something around 30 to 40 seconds. So I would always find something cool. And if it was a story about the fact that a basketball team talked to Kobe Bryant and they had to run laps because they ran into it at the subway, be a good tease to kind of get you into the episode. So that was something I did with that. But really, during the pandemic, I was worried because I'm saying to myself, well, I'm in insurance. I don't know if that's going to happen. They're laying off a lot of people in corporate, but I really want this job. I really want to stay here. I'm part-time at this place. So it was a big jump leaving a salary to this, but it just fits better. And I'm a jack of all trades. So back in 2020, I said, I got to find a way to drive engagement and get followers. We don't have any sports. BMCC only competed before I got there this year. And really, if I could really tell it to you guys, 2 sports in men. They're co-ed for esports. Okay, but they really competed in men's basketball. Tough season because they couldn't recruit CUNY, and baseball they've struggled here. That was it. So the fact is, how do you really? I said to myself, I got to find a way to help the women's sports too. We got to balance out with Title IX. So I started obviously while I was quarantining in Maine with my then fiance, now his wife. I did obviously, I do Tuesday, something called Tuesday. I forgot what it was. Motivation Tuesday. Some cool clips. I would do, each week I try to drop a record on, so a steals record, a rebound record, and that really drew engagement. That actually helped with followers because my goal was really to say, well, I got to tell you, we may not have sports anymore. So I got to really know that when it comes back, people know what this program's about. Because at the end of the day, Fordham, even though there's a pandemic, guys, there's a lot of stuff to deal with Fordham. You got Lombardi. You can always drop a Lombardi thing and people will watch it. I don't know about how Joe Moorhead ended when he was your football coach there. That was a great hire by Fordham, by the way. But you have so much history there, so much history that you could always drop something. The biggest thing I would tell you to build engagement, you're not going to have that at other schools. And I really, my eyes was my competitors. I want to make sure we're beating them in the recruiting by knowing about the program. So player stories, and it kept building and building. Obviously, getting on the trends. National Sibling Day and stuff like that. But especially, I really targeted things that really mean stuff to the program. And that's why I did the Inside the Lair thing, because I said we were not going to compete in the fall of 2021 at all, fall of 2020. So I said, I really better keep this program alive. I knew with the CUNY what we were doing, we weren't going to have a season outside of esports. So by interviewing all those ex-players, allowed them to talk about their experiences at the school, brought the alumni back to following. We got a lot of alumni followers. Half the athletes, guys, didn't follow us on Instagram. Did I tell you that? On Twitter. Huge social media followings. Never did it. So that helped. And that led to other, things for their businesses and what they're trying to do. That was huge. That led to our followers. That was another thing of increasing followers because it was hard. Guys, during the season, at least at BFCC, my goal is to hit 2,000. I came in back here about 1310. We're at 1530 now. I will probably get to 17, 1800. You got to understand, if you don't have sports going on, you guys would know this, it's going to be hard to make a reel. What are you going to do? A reel of me typing on a computer? That's a big way also to let you guys know. Reels help really draw engagement. People love that stuff, especially your era. But no, so that's kind of my goal. I didn't really know how to make a reel and couldn't at that time. So anything we could do. Well, I also did something else. I had everyone in the athletic department. I didn't Zoom it because I wanted better video quality. So I had them on their phone say, congratulations to our graduates. We did that. That was something else that was really cool that we did. Something I really want to continue to do at BMCC and future schools. I think it's so important. I modeled a lot of what I did off what Notre Dame Athletics does. I can't do everything they do, but something like that was kind of cool. Something, and not everyone's doing it. Somebody might do it. It's a copycat league, as we like to call it. Our profession is SID, but that's what I did to gain engagement, and it got me the Monroe opportunity because I think people there really said, "Well, who else in the region is really doing this?" And it's good, and I look forward to building it more this year. I mean, I finally at Monroe, as you mentioned before, what did I learn there? Well, I'll re-answer that question for you here. I mean, I learned a lot about how to improve my social media. The reels are huge; they're humongous for engagement. Now I understand there's dimensions 16 by 9. You have to make sure your video fits it. And that's the one thing from video to audio, my time from FUV that I've had to learn. Audio, normally there's a set way of how you're going to have it done. But this year I plan to do that with our game days. So instead of when I was starting at BMCC, to answer your question, Sam and Ryan, instead of they do BMCC, our coaches from Senegal. So it's a lot of the kids are from the country of Africa, foreign students that come in. So they have a dance they do. And instead of, putting that in a short clip, which got massive amounts of hits, now it's up to 1,200 views, 1,300 views, okay? I'll put that in the reel instead. So you play the music. Now you have rights to the music, which is good, thank God. You put a certain song in there for the pregame. It's cool. You can do that instead of, having to worry, oh, God, I have to get this video up or this or that. That's something I learned at Monroe that was really important. I did that when I was in Minneapolis for the women's championship, and that really kind of helped. So that's what I learned there at Monroe. And also, to tell you what else Monroe taught me too, about YouTube, streaming. That's also you want to talk about engagement, Sam, great question. BMCC tried to start before I got there, but when I was at Monroe Express, I just started the YouTube page there. So I did what I did at BMCC playlists, which you guys do, just so huge to organizing anything. But we got more subscribers because people watch these live streams. So that's something where, we picked up about 100 plus subscribers. I started, I think, back in August. I think it's at 200 now. But BMCC went from 15 to 110, and I wasn't there. So knowing that people like a lot of this live stuff and they want to watch it is, it's huge to building a brand. We're not going to be able to do live shows like you guys, your FUV is really great at doing, but figuring out and finding these little niches and how to build engagement is something I learned at Monroe and definitely had to learn on the fly at BMCC. And now I know, and I'm excited to see what else is next. But for you guys especially, I mean, I don't know about how cool a reel is, but I don't know. Try one day. Try doing a reel. You're heading to a broadcast. Heading to Rose Hill Gym. I'll be honest with you. The gyms, they always want to expand it, the alumni. I don't know why. But, you have a gorgeous campus there. Have you going by Eddie's, have you playing a song, or something like that and walking in. Try it. I don't know if that's going to work, but that's what a lot of the college game's about today. And especially, something that we're trying to get some interns in to try to tell them for the team pages, that's something that's important. So all of which I've learned.
It's very funny you say that too, because Sam, I think, just did a reel for the Mets game he covered the other day. Got, a few thousand views or something like that?
I'm going to follow. I'm looking forward to that.
There you go. Check it out on WFUV Sports Instagram. I didn't realize I'd be plugging my own work here, but yeah, check it out. It's a great way to get views and stuff like that. It's huge, definitely.
Yeah, because that's you're the generation that I'm trying to figure out and target. I don't think it's a very hard generation to figure out. Again, my parents, I'm tired of hearing them talk like, oh, the Instagram generation. I'm like, yeah, and we have national name and likeness, and right now, female athletes are making more than the men because of influencing on Instagram. This was an ESPN. I don't know the article. The link's relevant to this with me, but this is what I'm trying to tell you. Your generation is pretty easy to figure out. You find where the hits are and engagement. For me, the reels are really about recruiting. I look at it as a recruiting standpoint. There are a lot of rules in the NCAA. I mean, about official visits, you get 5. But you have unofficial, which I think is ridiculous about the whole thing. But in JUCO especially, it's a challenge because a lot of these kids are looking to go to a Fordham, looking to go to a Division I school. They don't even want to think about Division II or III with the things that those places can do. And there's good institutions here in New York that can do that. So to me, it's recruiting that, there's a cool reel of this dance I'm going to be a part of. That's what I saw in doing it, guys. And that's why I do it. That and, hey, I mean, I got to check out your reel, Sam. I got to look at the new press box.
Check it out.
At City, so I will be looking at it, definitely.
Appreciate that.
So along the same scope of the social media stuff, I saw that you played a big role in building that website. It's because we're building a website right now for FUV Sports, trying to enhance that. So wondering if you had any advice, any tips or things that we should be looking at to drive up that engagement as we're talking about.
Sure. Are you guys using Sidearm?
Sidearm.
Love them. I wanted to meet with one of the heads of them in Vegas. Couldn't, at this convention. Well, I'll tell you one thing I look for. I went to a 2-year learning disabled school in Vermont, and I took a web design course. So I learned a lot from that class. I don't know HTML language, but I learned one thing: cleaner is better, at least to help your viewers. So, I would look for your tabs being easy, listen live. I think that works because normally I'm sure your archives, I'm not sure what you use now. It was Stretch Internet when I was there. I'm not sure if you use another provider, but that's obviously like the FUV thing. I would look at that, listen live. You just kind of make sure you categorize everything. I would even put, interest in how to join on there. So I put that under
that's exactly
something else. I mean, but keep the tabs simple, easy. I know you guys know that stuff. It'll be great. Really look into see what the budget is for what you're going to go in with sidearm. I mean, they will allow you to redesign things. I finished right now at BMCC a design for our page. So I did a sample in Adobe Photoshop. I'm not showing on the screen because it was goofy, but I just did something simple about the school. We have the World Trade Center is right there. So I had a shot that I took a photo of the World Trade Center and a shot at BMCC's campus. There's this big silver structure. It looks really cool. Both I put on the side, and I said, okay, and here's a good article photo. Something that's you can put in the background that kind of shows the school. I think WFUV, I mean, if you could get the studio, I would say put Eddie's and what is it, Keating Hall? Is that
Yep.
on your camera? Got to get it right, the alumni people. Don't want them to be mad.
Of course, yes.
But that's a hell of a shot. I mean, that works. So I wanted to also, it's not just about the content, it's about really showing your institution, whether it's a college, WFUV, sidearm provides those things. And, I'm really looking forward to it. I didn't know I was going to be part of that coming back to BMCC, the website reboot, but we're doing a lot of things differently right now. I mean, I anything you can kind of put on there, but in my opinion, keep the tabs as organized as possible. Don't have too many. And, that's all I would tell you. That, and I got to tell you, but I've loved what I've seen. I'm looking forward to seeing this WFUV site. I'm going to promote it because I love it. So, but it's fun. The whole rebranding is just kind of define what you have. I think too, sidearm also offers you chances for video stuff and audio. I think you guys could make it really good. I mean, for me, I was just trying to sell the school. So, and I think I did a good enough job on that. Understand your expectations too when you're trying to drive engagement. I mean, to me, that's, I'm at a junior college here in City College in New York. I mean, if Eric Adams, he's shown up at our school a lot, he's at one of these basketball games. Okay, maybe we'll get that on a page or two. But I think about your audience. I think from you guys, I think you should kind of model it from a recruiting standpoint, how beautiful the campus is. And then I can't wait to see what you guys think of. I'm actually looking forward that you're doing this, guys. Thanks for letting me know.
John, thank you so much for promising to check that out. Super excited. I just got one more question for you here. For your plan going forward with BMCC, with your own career, I'm very curious, what is kind of the next steps for you? Obviously you just said, you're recently married, so I'm sure you got a ton of stuff going on right now, but is there any thoughts of the future? What's the next steps for you going forward in the career?
Well, I told you guys before, you'd asked me about my time at FUV. I wanted to be the next Doc Emmerich. Well, now more or less behind the scenes, I think it's something you guys asked me, something I really learned. Being behind the scenes is something I really enjoy. I just love the talk of it. So I'd like to be an athletic director. And that's the best way to break in. People have told me as a sports information director. I never really thought that until I met a few people. That's where I'd like to be in my future. And I think a lot of my FUV and broadcast experience helps with that. From a standpoint, a lot of people, at least in the lower levels, I'm not talking like Division I here, but people should understand this in Division I too, especially at the 1AA or whatever FCS sub-level, whatever they're calling it, that's football. But you need to understand how a lot of this is done to a standpoint of setting up your operation from a media standpoint. So for me, knowing that about cameras, how much everything costs. So if I could sit down with my SID and say, let's do this X, Y, and Z, that works, okay? And maybe we can, find a way, understanding about costs. That about equipment. I've learned that very much as an SID, opposed to, I think that's just so crucial. When you know all the equipment, coming from FUV, understand what things cost, has helped me enormously. It'll help you to get what you want too. It'll help you to expand your budget, and there are so many things people want to spend on that I find to be, kind of ridiculous when you can get it, you can do that. And sometimes it isn't even a cost. So I'd like to be an athletic director. I have a master's degree, as you saw my resume, from Fairleigh Dickinson. So I know a lot of the NCAA rules, but you have to understand the office too. And I think I've started to learn that. I mean, to be honest with you, the one thing about SID, you can't say yes to everything. I think sometimes that's a tough thing people have. So, you have to understand how to kind of politically kind of deal with coaches and stuff. And I think interviewing them, from a Tom Coughlin, who would always walk off the podium when I was with the Giants, I never said anything offensive to him. I always ask a question, he just walk away. Or, dealing with Joe Dumars giving me a bad look or something. To a guy who enjoyed talking to me, was just one of the New York Dragons coaches. I've learned what to say to coaches, but now I know I'm not asking a question about the team, the roster, or a graphic or a recruit. You got to kind of also figure out what their personality is. And that also is going to come into how I interview when you interview new coaches. So all of that all started at FUV, and it all comes together And then it's about filing that out and knowing where to go from your experience to get that level. And I'm working towards getting there. So that's where I would like to be down the road. And hopefully we get some young, talented student broadcasters like you. If I hear someone's interested in starting that, I'm saying I'm all ears. Let's have a cup of coffee.
John Kelly Jr., 2009 Fordham grad. John, thank you so much for all the kind words at FUV. You know, your time there as well. Thanks so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you, Sam. And thank you, Ryan. Keep up the good work.
Really appreciate it.